Did you say if the license, the individual license lapses, they have to retest?
After 3 years, yes. So anything between, like for builders is May 31. So May 31 of 2026 up until 5/30 of 2029, they can renew with a late fee. But again, anything that was not renewed timely during that time is unlicensed activity. If you didn't get caught unlicensed activity, if you end up in court, that's where it would hurt you. So they allow for late fees. We're all late one time or another in our lives. So they allow late fees, give you a 60-day grace period, but it doesn't stop that kind of activity. All right, so what happens if I don't have a license? So if you are doing work that requires a license, the state will take action. The AG's office works on this very often, especially when it comes to residential builders. There's one that we were just discussing the other day. This guy does not have a builder's license. He constantly writes contracts, takes a deposit, and never comes back. He's done this like 10 times, and they keep sending him in, and he just thinks he's completely justified in his actions. He is not. He is not. They're compiling the cases. Not always do we get them. The locals get them. So when he's, again, for example, Southfield, Detroit, Wixom, he's all over. He's spread far enough, just enough that the circles aren't talking. So they don't realize that there's 10 cases until the AG starts to get involved and the AG starts seeing, okay, we have 2 complaints for him, even though they may have been on opposite sides of the state. And they start looking through the court records and see, now he's got this case and now he's got this case. So they'll see a history and that'll hit even harder. But again, a lot of the times it happens innocently. It's that robbing Peter to pay Paul that gets you in a vicious loop. So be very careful about those contracts and the money you take in. Civil lawsuits, again, if you don't have a license and you go to court, or let me put it in a better difference perspective. If you don't have a license and you do a job and somebody doesn't pay you, you don't have the authority to place a lien on their home. A lien is for those who are licensed, that have a license, that are required to have a license to place a lien on someone's home. So that homeowner can then take you to court, say, they have placed a lien on our house, they did the work, we're not happy because this, and this, so we didn't pay them. Judge says, do you have a license? Is a license required by the state of Michigan? And you say no, and yes, a license is required. Case out. That's it. So it is also to protect the licensee. It works both ways. I know sometimes it seems like an overreach, but it also protects you. If you are invested in yourself enough to do the work, get the license. Get it done right, and then that way you won't ever have to worry. You'll have that individual license, you'll get the company license, you'll have the LLC. Make your money, be safe. State versus local licensing, like I mentioned earlier with permitting inspections, a lot of municipalities and townships within the state have their own permitting and inspecting authority, but licensing is all the state of Michigan, except for the city of Detroit. The allowance for that within the laws is based on size. City of Detroit is the only one who's big enough to get that authority. So City of Detroit does their own electrical licensing. Their program has to mirror what we do though. So they have to match the same law. So same with codes. We are still the code official. So when we change codes, they have to switch over to that. They do elevator. Again, the only one that has authority, and then boiler. So they do all of their own permitting or licensing for those trades. If they are issued a license by a municipality that is allowed by law within the skilled trades, so electrical specifically and boiler, that license is reciprocal throughout the state of Michigan. So if City of Detroit issues electrical master and contractor license, City of Lansing has to accept it to do jobs. We do registrations that make it easier because their system speaks differently than ours and the rest of the states do. So we do $25 every 3 years and they get a normal, our standard license number, I should say, that works with everybody's system just to make it easier for them. All right, licensing integrity. Treat it with respect. You worked hard to get it. Keep going. Again, Better Business Bureau Accreditation and licensing. If you're part of that organization, you know that they have vetted you and people will give you good reviews or bad reviews. But you know, if you're part of that, then you know you're doing a good job. Referrals and recommendations, of course, are always that key to doing more work. Also, the one thing that I've always talked about is make sure that you have good relationships with your inspectors. You know, again, Western UP, it's very small. There's only a few inspectors that do the work. You know, the state has one electrical and plumbing inspector that traverses the whole UP. When you know those guys, you know how to work with them. You know, they'll tell you, they'll point you in the right direction. They'll help you get the stuff done. They are the inspectors, whether it be us or the locals. They know the work. They know the code. Doesn't mean you're wrong. They're just interpreting it different, and they want you to do it this way. So keep your relationships good with them. It helps you in the long run. So for the city of Detroit, with the electrical licenses, they have to be a resident of the city of Detroit, not necessarily just work in the city of Detroit. The city of Detroit will have registration requirements just for that, like any other municipality is going to. But if you are getting a license, and our website shows that, they will need to get a city of Detroit license. They can have both. If they want to get one through us and they want to get one through them, they can have both. We don't hold that against them. But yeah, it's that address requirement. Okay, enforcements and complaints. So a lot of the complaints that we receive that we take on, code violations. So somebody does a job, the inspector comes out, there's code violations, they don't come back and fix it. Financial requirements. They took my deposit, never saw him again. Unlicensed activity. I didn't know he wasn't licensed, and now I have all these problems. No permit was pulled, no inspections. I can't sell my house, you know, all of those things. Abandonment. Again, signed a contract, took the money, ran. Aiding and abetting others in unlicensed activity. Signing for people that have never worked for you. Letting them, we call it permit selling. So they'll use their license so you can go get a permit to do the work, and you're not licensed. So the licensee, even though the unlicensed individual is the one who did the work, the licensee also can be in trouble. Lots of other, they're all over the place with some of those complaints that we get. So complaints can result in fines, fees, temporary or permanent revocation of license, and prison. If there are fines, they are sent to the Michigan Department of Treasury. I know that we had one a couple of years ago, and this was in regards to a mobile home park. They had violations within the park. It all works the same, but they had violations in the park. We went after them. They didn't respond. So finally, the judge, we gave him a $13,000 fine. We sent that to Treasury. 15 years later, he was trying to buy a park in Florida, and they did a check and said, until you get this rectified. He was hot, but he didn't follow through. So they will follow you. And that is what I have for today. Again, my staff is available Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. So I always encourage people to call. They will answer questions if you didn't have one today. They will walk you through applying through the online system, creating an account, send you direct links, whatever you need to. So we're here. I mean, renewals, everything else like that. Go ahead, Trish. So again, the link on the bottom, and we'll share this with you guys later. The link on the bottom will take you right to our section, which talks about each of the different license types, goes in, talks about the requirements for each level of the license, the applications, how that all goes. But staff is there via email or phone to actually talk to and get an answer. And if they can't answer the call, then they'll forward it up to me. We all share. Teams works great for that. So we can all share messages back and forth really quick.
People, I think, sometimes use permit and maybe they think license. So could you just kind of clearly explain permit versus license?
So a permit is that item that you pay for to get the inspection, that paying for a permit to do the work at a specific location. A license will allow you to do all the work regardless. So it's like, it's a good analogy. You have a driver's license, you get a driver's license, you can drive a car. You get a Class C, maybe the chauffeur's license, and that allows, trying to think of a good analogy. The permit is what triggers an inspection. The license is what triggers you to even be able to do the work. Credential, thank you. That's a good way to, yes. A permit is not a credential. A license is a credential. You need a credential to do the work. A permit is just that trigger to require an inspection.
You have a license and then you have to get a permit.
Yes, depending on what the work is, yes, it's possible. You must have a license to do the work. Not always is a permit required, permit inspection required.
Not a smart question. So a homeowner, they're having work, who's required to get that permit?
There is no requirement in the law on who has to get that. The homeowner can pull a permit. We strongly suggest that they don't. If they're hiring a licensed company,
If they're hiring a company,
Yep.
they don't have to.
the licensed company should be the one pulling the permit, because they're the ones who are saying, we are doing the work, we are ensuring that it's code compliant, we will take on the responsibility. But Public Act 230 says homeowner or homeowner's representative is who can pull a permit. When you get into the licensing law, plumbers are the only ones who are required to be the plumbing contractor who has to pull the permit. The rest of them, it's an agreement between the homeowner and the contractor. We always strongly suggest make the contractor do it.